All right, guys, so I am really excited to be kicking off Uncut. This is our mental health segment for women of tomorrow, where we can be real honest and real raw with real people. So I'm super excited today. I have one of my really good friends, my Spelman sister, and y'all know how I feel about my girls, but amazing entrepreneur and makeup artist, Miss Chelsea Cotton.
Hey guys.
So go ahead, tell us a little bit about you, Chelsea.
Hey, so I am an Atlanta-based entrepreneur and a makeup artist. I've worked on sets for Chris Brown. I've done Interview Magazine. I have done stuff for Coca-Cola, Delta, all type of campaigns. So yeah, I'm just a freelance makeup artist.
You got a lot of motion out here. That's basically what she's saying. It's like, I'm really everywhere. But with all that going on, I can only imagine how hard it is to keep yourself balanced, humbled, centered, and everything. So I know you've always been like a natural free spirit, a super amazing creative, but where do you find that balance? How do you keep yourself just centered in the midst of all of it?
I think it's definitely like my upbringing. I just come from a normal family. Like I had both my parents, and they were just really big on just teaching us how to be humble. So, you know, just not letting anything get to my head too much. Moving to Atlanta, it was definitely a lot different. I'm from St. Louis, so St. Louis is like a smaller city. So just moving here, coming from there, and family upbringing.
Okay. So let's go immediately into social media and mental health, because I know in our industries, she's like, we have to do this. But no, a lot of what we do is like, we can't really be a part of this industry without having some sort of social media footprint. So what are the pages that you follow for inspiration, for healing, for motivation? And what are some of the pages where you're like, I absolutely can't do it, it's toxic?
So pages I think I look at for motivational purposes, definitely Black Enterprise. They are always just like shouting out Black businesses, Black people who are doing amazing, great things. So Black Enterprise, Gary Vee, he's always like definitely motivational. Whatever you want to do, you can do it type of mentality. Other Black women makeup artists, Sir John, he's a man, but he's still Black, amazing makeup artist. Things that just keep me stimulated and motivated and positive. As far as pages, like I try to stay away from, definitely blog sites.
Yeah.
And lately, like all the blogs, it just seem like they have been posting so much negativity. Like every time I get on social media, somebody is dying or somebody got murdered or somebody, it's just always negative. So all that stuff, tea tenders, shade room, like I just try to stay away.
Is it just like triggering for you, or like does it make you feel some kind of anxiety, or is it just like, this is too much, I just choose not to engage?
Yeah, it's just too much. I just don't want to engage. It's just the energy. Like I try to have great energy, positive energy. Like I'm a creative, so in order to create, I have to have good energy. So I can't just be sitting looking at negative energy all day. I just feel like it's really draining. So just trying to stay clear of that.
Well, speaking of energy, when you have days, let's say you wake up and your energy is just off for whatever reason, you could just have woke up on the wrong side of the bed, maybe it's family stuff going on, whatever, but you still have to get up and go to work. What do we do? Like, what is our regimen? Who do you call? How do you snap yourself back? Or are we just like fighting through the day?
I'm not necessarily fighting through the day. I'm spiritual, so I'll pray. Definitely pray. I know it's maybe like cliche or a little bit corny, but I definitely have like sticky notes on my mirror. So like when I first wake up and I go wash my face, it's the first thing I see. Meditate, read. I recently, this past year, started therapy, so I have therapy sessions every month, twice a month. So that's nice.
So let's talk about our sticky notes. What are 3 things that are on your sticky notes? Because I used to do this, but I don't anymore, and I should probably get back into it.
Why? Why you stop doing it?
I don't don't know. I think maybe I just moved and I just stopped the whole habit and everything, but it was really good for me. What I do now is a good thing jar. So a friend of mine got me into it when I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and she told me every day just challenge yourself with writing down one good thing that happens. Like it doesn't have to be monumental. It could be something like you got out of bed, you made up your bed, you did your laundry, you washed your dishes, just small things that will remind you that good things are consistently happening to you and to almost reward yourself of those things as well. So that's my affirmation in my sticky note.
That's actually good. I'm probably gonna steal that.
Please, no, I tell everybody to do it. And for anybody that watches this, please get your good thing jar. And it doesn't have to be a jar. I have friends who use like a shoebox or a flower vase or whatever, but I encourage everybody to do that.
And you do it every day?
Every single day, at least one thing. Now I'm writing down like 5 or 6 things a day because I just challenge myself in that way. But I guess like genetically or chemically, it retrains your brain because your brain can't tell the difference between like you winning $1 million or you winning $5. Like a win is a win, So if you're constantly writing down these good things that are happening, whether big or small, you're gonna convince yourself that like, wow, life is really, really good. So when bad things happen, you don't trip over it as much because so many good things have happened.
Wow. That was, sis, you got it. That was amazing.
Please get your good thing jar.
I'm gonna make my sticky notes. I'm like, okay.
No, but tell me, what are some things on your sticky notes? What are some things you write down to read to yourself every morning?
So definitely you are beautiful. Have patience. And you're successful.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Simple, straight to it, but definitely important.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's go back to something you touched on, and that's the therapy aspect, which I think is super important. And I think that in the Black community, there's so many people who don't really support the idea of going to therapy. So have you always been someone that's been in support of therapy, or what did that look like for you when you finally got to a point where you said, I want to go talk to somebody?
I never was a person who didn't support therapy. I just didn't feel like I needed it. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, my anxiety is through the roof. Like, I need to talk to somebody about it. So I found a therapist, and even finding a therapist in itself probably gave me anxiety. But it's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. So.
Wow. I love that. People need to hear that because I know some people, and everybody's experience is different, but I do know some people who have gone to therapy and they say that it's too triggering for them. Like maybe they just weren't at a space where they were ready for that type of approach towards their healing just yet. But going in and talking to someone who made them like recount all the bad shit that's happened, they were like, I couldn't do that, and they had to leave it alone. But I know for me, I didn't always support therapy. I was, be honest. At one point, I was like, I don't want to talk to no stranger who don't know me and who's sitting up here with their credentials on a wall and trying to think that they could tell me the best ways to maneuver in my life. Like, I thought that was so condescending and I just wasn't comfortable with it. And then I think just with time, maturity, and things like that, I opened up to it. And it was when I started dating someone. And we were really trying to give our relationship like the most healthy chance possible. So we both decided to go to therapy and just talk about anything. It wasn't that we felt like we had things to unpack. We just wanted to learn how to have healthy dialogue and see if there is anything that we could talk about in our past relationships or growing up, whatever that might come about in therapy that could be useful for us in our relationship. So it was good, and I was happy that I was able to build that relationship with my therapist because once something happened in my life where I really needed therapy, she was already someone who I trusted. So I definitely support the idea of therapy, and not just that being a place where you can unpack bad shit, but a place where you can go and say, I got a job promotion. You know, me and my friend, we were able to talk out our differences, and I'm really proud of myself. Because it's different having someone else celebrate you other than like friends and family and stuff like that. And my therapist gave me a really good balance of, okay, we can talk about the tragedy of this relationship and you lost this loved one and we can do some grief counseling. But when you come in on Tuesday, I want to talk about how you landed this big account, how you got this raise, and like, let's really allow me to be your cheerleader and not just your therapist. That was really important for me.
I have to agree because my therapist does the same thing. So I'm glad to hear that that's kind of like a thing. We definitely discuss good things as well as bad things, but she makes sure that we discuss good things as well, and it makes me feel good. So.
So what was your process of finding your therapist? Because mine was a shit show. It's so different. And that's one thing that I hate. And if there's anything that's on like my ultimate vision board as a mental health advocate, is making sure that I can provide resources that make it easier for Black women to find a therapist who they trust and who they can afford. Because the shit is not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's really not cheap.
Yeah.
To be honest, my Spelman sister just sent me a bunch of therapists that she recommended. I went through the list. I did a few trial runs with a few that I thought would fit me, and then I picked from there. I just kind of wanted somebody similar to me who could understand what I was going through. And I personally wanted somebody older because I just feel like older women are more wise. They have more that they could show me or teach me, or, you know, just kind of like, that's what I wanted in my therapist.
Yeah. So if you had to name like 3 things that people should look for in a therapist, what are like those traits that a therapist should have? Or like, what is the green flag for, yes, you have the right therapist?
Definitely a therapist that's going to give you homework. That is one of the biggest like takeaways from therapy.
Yeah.
It's not just like, I guess, sitting there and listening, but also they're gonna give you work to do. If they're not giving you any work to do, then I don't know if it's really gonna be like effective.
Yeah.
For me, I had to find someone who could kind of help me break out of my shell. I will say it took me a long time. Like, I don't like talking. I don't like talking to people. I don't like talking. Girl, I don't even know how we're doing this right now, but.
You have always been quiet, but it wasn't a shy. It was like she's cool, she's reserved. Like, she just don't mess with everybody. That's okay.
So it literally took me almost 4 months to even really start talking to my therapist. Like, she would ask me questions, and I'd be like, fine, or, you know, like,
girl, you paid all that money just to
yeah,
walk
I know. And she would just be like, okay, well, she really just kept trying. Like, she would dig deeper into conversation, and eventually I just trusted her, and I felt comfortable enough to talk to her. So I guess a therapist that's also gonna put in the work, not one that's just gonna take your money.
Yeah.
And then I guess a third one would be one that is really truly educated. I know that they all, I guess, have to be educated, but somebody that's wise, like, I guess, you know, that's been through some things, so it doesn't feel like you're the only one that has gone through something.
Yeah.
So somebody you can relate to.
I like that. So we talked about the homework and the exercises that therapists will have you do, which I think shadow work is like super important. What is one test or assignment or a piece of homework that your therapist has given you that was really helpful for you?
She gave me a whole book.
She said, baby, you got homework.
Yes, like I have this exercise book. I don't know what I can discuss without it being too personal.
Right. Do what's comfortable for you here. We accept whatever you give, but.
Definitely anything that triggers my anxiety, to write it down. Yeah, so I kind of can keep track of what is making me anxious.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like I used to do this, but when I first started having panic attacks, I would write down like the physical things that gave me anxiety. And it started to work against me because I was keeping a list of like things that reminded me of what I'm fearful of. So it just added to that fear in a way. Like it was not working. And that was not something that my therapist told me to do. That was just something that I did. And yeah, I had to throw that away because it was not helping my healing at all. But I like that. And I might really do that to help me like confront myself a little bit.
Yeah, for me, it just made me more aware. Like I wouldn't even know why I would be anxious. So I would just always be so anxious.
Yeah.
And once I could like really break it down and kind of have, you know, thoughts and processing what's actually making me anxious, it would help me be able to kind of like calm down. Like, whoa, I know that that's gonna make me anxious, or I know why it's making me anxious. Like, you know, it would just help with my anxiety.
Now, when you say anxious, what does that look like? What does it feel like? Because I know there's so many different ways to discuss anxiety, and I know like for me it is absolutely physical symptoms like heart palpitations, like I'll have tingling in my shoulders, my vision will go blurry sometimes, I've passed out, like it's that bad for me. But then there are other people where their anxiety is as simple as I just feel a little nervous, like I feel uneasy. So what is it for you when you're anxious on a light day and anxious on a really, really bad day?
For me, it does make me feel uneasy. Nerves are like crazy. I overthink a lot that I wouldn't normally overthink. Sometimes I get tingles. It just depends. But the overthinking, I think, is the biggest part of my anxiety. So I don't know why. I'm just an overthinker. I worry a lot. That is kind of like my anxiety.
Yeah. And when you are overthinking and worrying about things, who are the people in your life that help bring you balance? Like, what's the best thing that a support system can say to you to be like, we're good, bring it back, you know?
Definitely my partner. He helps a lot because he knows me almost better than anybody else. So he kind of just is like, yo, chill, like, it's okay. He puts things in perspective for me. He tells me, we were just talking about how, you know, people have it a lot harder than we do. So he just puts things in perspective for me, and that kind of calms me down. My dad, he'll pray for me. He just knows what to say because he knows me well too. And then my best friends, they're just like, you know, if you're having a bad day, do we need to come over? You want to go get drinks? Like, you want to just chill out? So they're very supportive too.
Just lending comfort. I love that they make you feel normal. Like they don't point out like, girl, you're feeling anxious, like you have a problem. You know, because some people think that they're being supportive of you and they trigger you more because the way you respond to me when I'm having a moment will make me feel like, damn, it really is that bad. Yeah. So it makes it worse. But I like that. I love that for you. So let's go back to a little bit of the therapy again, and I'm gonna keep digging in on it.
Okay.
But I just love conversations surrounding therapy and people seeking whatever help or resources that they need. And I remember I had a virtual session with my therapist not too long ago, and she kind of pissed me off a little bit. It was a good session. I love her. I'm never leaving her, I promise you. But this was the one session where I was challenged in a way that I don't think I was ready to be challenged, but I needed the push. But she asked me if my younger self had to say something to me or what would my younger self feel about me current day. And I told her that my younger self would be really disappointed in me because I've dishonored her through my personal relationships. When I say that shit was heavy for me, like
that was deep.
And the thing is, when I first said it, she started like snapping her fingers, and I'm like, bitch, I'm over here about to break down. But she's like, from the time that you've been coming to me, like the fact that you could turn a mirror on yourself, it was a step. But that was such an emotional session for me because I really had to admit that through the years, I've kind of lessened my standards in relationships, and I've created a space for men to disrespect me. Certain times, not all the time. We just don't get used to that treatment. But I haven't honored my 5-year-old self. And I think that there are certain things that like 28-year-old Jasmine, she could take that to the chin. I don't think about it because I'm a grown woman. But 13-year-old Jasmine is like shaking in her boots because she's like, girl, we don't know how to deal with narcissism. We don't know how to deal with physical abuse in our relationships. And you're supposed to protect us. And so having to unpack all of that day was a shit ton of work for me. And it triggered me for weeks to come as I talked to her. Okay, so Chelsea, you're in a relationship, and I know you talked a little bit earlier about how he's been huge in like keeping you balanced and supporting you through your mental health, but let's chat a little bit about just like the struggle sometimes of dating someone who's in the public eye and some of the shit that you might have to deal with, because I know it's something. What are like some of the horror stories like that you've had to deal with in protecting that relationship?
I don't know if I would say horror stories, but definitely like setting boundaries. people are always, I just feel like they want me to be more open about my relationship, and I don't, like, it's not your business.
Yeah.
Or even like people who try to come to me for certain things because of who I'm affiliated with. It's like
They
I
do
have,
that?
yes, girl, all the time.
Do you get a lot of like, let me drop my EP?
Yes, let me mixtapes in the DMs. Let me give you my clothes to send to so and so. Tickets for shows, just like all type of stuff. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like have to establish boundaries, especially for me because his business is not my business.
Right.
So, like, what can I honestly do for you?
I do love that you established such a separate identity from him. Like, you really are your own woman. And like, me just knowing you personally, sometimes I forget who you date. Like, I just see Chelsea and we love Chelsea. So I love that you stand alone and you're okay with that.
That is like so important to me. And that really is positive for my mental health because when I do get to where I want to be in life, in my career, I always want to be able to say, you know, I kind of did this for myself. Like, nobody gave this to me. People helped, but nobody handed this to me. Like, I did this. And don't let that stress from all that other stuff. I can't let that stress be stressing me out. I got too much other stuff to be worried about. There definitely was a period of time when I just felt like I was just a girlfriend. And it sucked. Like, honestly, during that period of time, it was one of like the worst mental phases I went through. Like, I just feel like people, like I didn't have nothing going on. Like, it was a weird space. And then dating somebody that's so big and you're like, okay, what am I doing? Like, it's almost like you don't want to be envious because you love this person. But literally, people just kind of look at you that way and it makes you feel a certain type of way. So that was the period of time where I just kind of buckled down. I went to cosmetology school. I got my license. I worked at a salon. I started building my brands. And now I'm about to drop a product, so I'm excited about that. And then once I stopped focusing so much on my relationship and what he was doing, it was like God started opening so many doors for me.
Wow.
And so many opportunities came my way, so many blessings. It was just great after that, after I kind of like got over that hump.
Yeah. Now, you talked about your product, and I saw you post about it the other day. So let's go ahead and plug that. Tell us about the product.
I am dropping a travel brush set. So it's just like a nice set of makeup brushes with a case for just girls on the go. I travel a lot. Traveling is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a set that can come with me and that can go with other girls wherever they're going.
Now, are we going to get some tutorials? Because I did my makeup this way just because I knew I was interviewing a makeup artist. I couldn't have Stephanie and you be like, no, she know that shit wasn't blended. But I tried the best I could. But are we going to get a tutorial for these brushes? Because I just use whatever, honey. Like,
see, that's why I'm going to send you a pack of brushes because you can't just be using whatever.
I don't know what it is. This probably supposed to be for concealer and I'm over here just dabbing it on with powder. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to have a tutorial showcasing what each brush is used for, how to pack them in your kit, how easy it is to just throw them in their case and throw them in your bag, how to clean them, all of that good stuff. So, yeah.
And we're so happy to support.
Thank you.